Good morning, everybody. Flip over the screen. Oh, it is Monday. Jiminy, I forgot what day it was. Monday, February 20th, 2017. And we are going to start the stream for the day. And right now, I'm trying to get my stupid mouse pad to work. So, all this weird stuff you see popping on the screen is my mouse pad refusing to light up. There we go. Okay. So, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Lex and Kazame and Harry, and anyone else who may be hanging out and about. Like normal, feel free to ask questions. I will try to help out as best as I can. This week, I have a feeling, is going to be a bit more, maybe not necessarily focused, but probably shorter in terms of the streams every day. Next week is GDC, and I still have to prepare for that. I'm doing a presentation, an educational thing on Tuesday, and I only have the outline done for my presentation. I kind of need to finish it. So I'm working on that stuff along with some other things. But in the meantime, we'll be concentrating on the multiplayer stuff in between other people's questions and answer stuff. I don't think Epic will be streaming officially on Tuesday or Thursday of this week, based on what Alexander said at the end of Thursday's stream. So if that's the case, I will be streaming Tuesday and Thursday as well. So all 5 days this week. So other than that, and hello, Old Siren. Yeah, it's kind of doing the stuff the night before here. I'll share this with you guys because I'm happy with it. So this is what I'm working on here. I've got my presentation set up. And up until last week, I didn't know how long it was going to be. I didn't know. So my first draft of this one is 40 minutes long. My second draft is 30 minutes long. And then I just found out I've got about 20 minutes to do my presentation. So I'm not kind of waiting to the entire night before, but I need to go through and trim down a lot of the stuff because there's too much in here. So it's going to be fun. I'm going to work on that once the stream's over. And hello, Glitch. I am doing good. So for the multiplayer stuff, last week, which is the last time we got a chance to work on this, we were playing around with learning the different RPCs and multicasts. And I thought we got a pretty decent basic understanding here. We got some buttons in place so we could set up, our different RPCs and our multicasts and our replications for trying to learn. But the first thing we spent about an hour on was simply trying to get a valid player start system working for multiplayer. That was the first thing we started working on. And that took like an hour, and to be honest, we really hacked it in. We have this very ugly code here where basically we are finding the player starts and coding, pretty much hard coding where the player is going to go. And the issue we ran into also, which was nice because we found this error, we finally got it working with 4 people, as you saw here. But that only worked if we had a dedicated server. When we switched over to a non-dedicated server and we ran it with a listen server, we ran into an issue where our game code, our game mode itself, fires up too quickly, and on a listen server, the server itself never has access to the player starts. So we need to make a much more efficient and better system in place. Now I think I learned from reading that the on-post login may actually be where we want to be firing off this code. Now this should fire off once for each player, but I think this code in here, rather than in the game mode begin play, is where it's going to fix our problem. And so basically our thought process is, yep, on-post login fires when the thing's in. Yep. Because our issue is with the dedicated server, this code never gets fired properly. The listen server character can never actually get a chance to fire this code before he spawns in. It's a really interesting issue. And I knew it was going to be an issue because of the fact we literally just hacked in something to work. We knew it was wrong in the first place. That's why it literally says, this is super ugly code. Why did I have to write this? Save me. And hello, Yamato. So the idea is, let's make a proper player start. We're going to basically make our own player start from the existing player start class. And we are going to add in things like the ability to choose which color it spawns in, like different teams. And so, we'll just do like team 1, team 2. We'll make it really simple. Or the ability for anything. We'll have the player starts keep track of if someone spawned recently and then have a cooldown so no one can respawn there. Because a lot of the time in your traditional multiplayer games where it's like a deathmatch, you don't want people spawning right after each other on the same spawn point, because then you're going to end up with, either frag kills, or you're going to end up with things like someone spawning in and then dying a second later because someone spawned right behind them. So we're going to see what we can do. So and again, this is all a learning experience because I have not played with this stuff much. There we go, player start. So we're going to call this one the color player start, which apparently I already did, so that was kind of silly. Apparently we're already ahead of ourselves. Okay, so we have a player start already. So that's cool. So let's just put in some stuff. This is the stuff. Yeah, see, so we did try starting to do something apparently, but then I got distracted, I think, by the pretty colors, and I stopped. Yep, we're going to work on that. And like normal, while I'm in the middle of doing this stuff, feel free to ask questions. If you have any comments, feel free to comment, and we'll go from there. Hopefully everyone's having a good day. And hello to you, Mr. Ryan. Hopefully you're having a good day today. I don't know if you saw that, but it is awesome that your recent project got front paged on Steam. I thought that was pretty cool. It's always nice when what you've worked on people can see and appreciate. Okay, so I'm thinking let's not do a color because that hard codes this. Let's just do number of teams is what we're going to do. We're going to hard code this. We're going to not hard code this, but we're going to, why do I keep hitting compile? We're going to go number of teams. And this way you could, for example, always set up 4 teams. And then you could set up the number of colors for the team. But we're not going to hard code things like that. So we'll do number of teams, and we'll do is used. And then I think I'm going to need a variable, because the nice thing about this is we did technically talk about what we wanted to accomplish. So if I set these variables up now, even though I'm not using them now, and normally I wouldn't do something like this will help me remember what I planned on doing. Because I'm very forgetful, I get distracted, and other people, ask for help, so we work on things like that. We get sidetracked, which is fine. I just tend to forget. Let's go spawn cooldown. This is what we're going to go with. So we're going to go with the number of teams, we're going to go with spawn cooldown, and we're going to go with is used. I think those are the basics that we're going to go with. And I'm thinking, so let's go ahead and nuke all these existing player starts. Let's drag in a color player start. And put one over here and rotate him like that. And then put one over here and rotate him like that. Obviously, you can see I have these things in the exact perfect position. Or close. Okay, so there's our player starts right there. And I think our code will work fine. No, okay, so obviously our code is broken because we're looking for player starts and I don't have them. We just have our color player start, which is fine. So we're still good there. Okay. So the plan is, this is off the top of my head, the post login event is going to fire and it's going to give us our player controller. And then we'll be able to find a valid player start. Let's see, because this is the code right here, the find player start code. And what we were doing was going through our array, finding a valid player start, assigning it to the player, and then removing that player start. And this is obviously really ugly code that we didn't like. I honestly really did not like that code. Okay. And this one gives us a player controller. So the proper way is, so this is a good question. When the player starts in, we need to be able to find a valid player. We need to be able to find a player start somewhere in our world. Right now, if I was to run this code inside of our begin play, it fails. And it fails because of the fact that this event will not fire properly on a server, a listed server. Let's move this over to here, to the post login. And the question here is, okay, so we need to do some debugging is what we need to do. This is what I'm actually curious about. Do we know the proper order that things fire off in terms of when someone joins the server? For example, is the find player start called before or after the post login? Those are kind of important, I would think. So let's print this out. Let's properly spell print string. I also think we're going to get an error because we're never passing in a valid return node. So let's pop these down here for now. We should get an error, but we're fine here. We're testing stuff out. Because that's the fun part. And I'm pretty sure when this starts, I'm going to get I'm going to get that error, which is fine. I expected that error because of the fact that we don't have a valid player start that we are returning. Which I'm not even worried about. Okay, so for now, we are going to do this. Because we're overriding this class, we want to make sure we have a valid player start. So let's do that. Okay. And it would probably help if I had this actual code longer than 2 seconds. Choose player start. 2 seconds. There we go. So let's see what pops up. Something printed out really. Okay, so post login, this needs to be 10 seconds. Gee, there we go. Let's try this a third time, shall we? There we go. So it looks like find player. Oh, is that really 10 friggin' seconds? Let's try that again. Okay, so it looks like find player start is called first, then post login, but not technically in that order, because if you look, find player start is called last after post login. Well, that's lovely. Okay, so let's just try hacking something in right now. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to grab our get all actors, a player starts, and we're going to pull this into here. We're going to put this in our find player start code, which is right here. Yep. We're going to just hack ourselves a happy little result is what we're going to do. And every time someone logs in, we're going to grab all of our player starts. This is going to be our color player start. And this should fail because I need to change this to our color player start. Find our color player start reference. Yep, change all the types. Not a problem here. There we go. Boop, that should work. Okay. We have an error because we don't have our return, which is fine. That's what we're working on. So now that we have all our player stats, we're going to get the first player stats, player starts, get our first one, and feed this one into here. This should allow everyone to start, and everyone should start on the first one now. Okay, cool. So we know at least it's working. We know it's finding the first one, and we know everyone is logging into the first one. So we know that's good. Our goal is going to be that we need to find something like that. Kazume, can you replicate find player start function to fire only on the server? The server is the only thing that fires it off. Anything in the game mode is only fired off by the server. So all this stuff is server only. Regarding actor multiplayer replication, how reliable is the data that is being replicated? Could someone with cheat engine change the actor's position and that alter position gets replicated? No question. Yes, Harry, if you're doing it improperly. That is what our server verification is for. So, for example, we need to keep in mind that this guy up here, this top guy right here, this is the server. And he keeps track of everything in the game. So he knows where all these guys are at. So whenever a server movement is run, it runs it through the server verifies it, and then moves it as well. If we don't have the server validate the information, then we're going to end up where you can use the cheat engine. Your player basically says, I'm here, and tells the server where it went to instead of the server authorizing the movement, if that makes sense. In terms of certain types of cheating, it's not foolproof. You should do some form of sanity check. For example, if you've imposed a maximum movement limit of 600 units per second or something like that, and your player is moving at 800 units per second, then your server should trigger something. Those are separate things that you should put in there. And I believe there is a anti-cheat detection. That there is something in the engine, I can't remember what it's called, but there's anti-cheat detection for multiplayer. There is something inside the engine itself, and I can't remember what it was called. It pops up every so often when you're in the middle of oh my god, I'm Googling right now. When you're in the middle of the notes, if you ever read the notes, every so often it mentions it. I'm trying to find the... Let me see if I can find this stuff. Let's see, I can't spell cheat, so that's not helpful. Okay, can't find the exact sections I'm trying to find here. Well, here, let me pop this. Let me pop this into chat. This might help. Wow. Oh yeah, I have 4 things running. Duh. I'm a dum dum. I'm sitting here wondering why I have 4 different things going because I have 4 different players. Okay. Go ahead and read this if you want to, Harry. You're asking a lot of basic information. Not basic information, but you're asking a lot of information that I don't have exact knowledge on. I trust that Unreal implements things certain ways. So I'm implementing my code within those design parameters. Here's a wiki article explaining how the replication works on the different authoritative modes for replication. Like Cosme is bringing up, replication only works from server to client. So if you're replicating movement, for example, on the player, basically whenever movement input comes in, that information is given to the server, and then the server does it, is basically how it works. So you're basically mimicking things on the server. By default, if you're using a character, where is it at? Right, where to go? Seriously? Why can I never find things I'm looking for them? Right here. If by default, as part of the character class itself, is the option to replicate movement. That's generally what you'd want done, to have movement done automatically for the input events, for movement purposes. If it's a general input event, like interaction and stuff like that, that's something you would tell the server, hey, this player wants to interact with this. The server runs the command, verifies they can do something, and then feeds that information out to the clients to say this happened. Like Cosme is bringing up, you should replicate things that are supposed to be seen by everybody. Yeah. There's a lot of talk about replication here. Let's see. Old Siren. When the future, we talk about the new map and set arrays that was added in Blueprints 4.15. Unless they've always been there, and I only knew they were in C++. They were added in 4.15 for Blueprints. I've already done videos on both maps and sets. I did it last week on Wednesday when 4.15 came out. So you will find a video on what is maps and sets. Yeah, so go. Okay, so people are having a lot of chat in there, which is good. I would say, Harry, read through that documentation. If you have some more questions, go ahead on that one. And hello, Wander. I did see you wander in. That's funny. Okay, so here's our player start. Okay, so we were at the point where we were able to successfully get 4 people logging in to our start. Like I said, I'm going to hack this in terms of working, and then we'll see if this is the smarter way. This may, or a better way. This may or may not be the smarter way. We're going to find out. The nice thing about this, so we'll find a player start for our player, and we'll go ahead. We find all of our valid player starts inside of our game itself. And this one seemed, yeah, okay. So we'll do that, and then we need to, what are we doing on this one? Player starts, we get them. We're going to ask our player start if it's used. So that would probably be the smartest thing to do. So we're going to have to loop through all of these. You got to keep in mind, something like this might take a little bit of time, but with someone joining in, it's not too much of an issue in terms of performance. I don't expect this to be a huge issue. So we'll see if it's used, and if it is used, we will skip past the start point. We do not wish them to start here. So if it is used, we're just basically going to do nothing. So I'm going to put a reroute note here. And if I can right-click, can I please right-click? Thank you. Do nothing. This spawn is already dead to us. There we go. So, okay, cool. So if it's not used, let's see, we need to we don't, oh crap. Okay, this is a loop, so we're fine here. We're just going to spin back here. We want to make sure we finish with something. So our return node down here is going to give us our valid spawn point, which is right here. So we'll put this in here. Spawn point is going to be our color player start. So now this right here should be a valid return node. Like that. So we're good there. If we find one that's not used, then what we're going to do is we're going to grab it, and we're going to set used. Right now, I'm just going to flip the bool. The proper way to do this is we're going to call this, we're going to tell the spawn point that we want to use it, and then it's going to run its code internally and set any sort of timer to refresh itself later. Right now, we're just going to flip it as used just to make sure it works. And then we're going to set the spawn point to this element right there. And then we should go through. This should be a break probably, so we don't waste time. But for now, we're just going to see if this works. That is the point of this. Okay, so I gotta admit, I'm super confused by what I'm looking at. Did I? Huh. So, is it just me, or can I not see the rest of the people? Huh. Well, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool. Let's see what happens if we run this on dedicated server. Huh. I have 4 post logins, but I somehow managed to only have... This guy is definitely in a different spot than these 3. And this is... Wow, okay. My loop is faulty. Well, yeah, why will it only give 1 valid spawn point? This is going to be called 4 times. The first time through, it should grab one of them, mark it as used. The next time through, it should grab them again. The first one should end up being used, in theory, if these are all in the same order, so it should grab me the next one. Shouldn't it? Am I wrong on the loop, the way I thought about the loop? Because this should be called 4 times. Let's see. Player start has tags available or taken just for each through the tags. Player start has tags. Well, it has tags. Yeah, I mean, you can label this whatever you want. I mean, technically, I don't need to set a variable. Oh, shoot, you're right. That's funny. I do need the break in here. Nope, you guys are right. Dagnabbit. Okay, so Okay, so let's. You're right. No, you guys are perfectly right on this one. Um, yeah, no, you guys are good. You guys are right on this one. I should have had the break in there. I agree completely with you guys on this one. I could always I could fix this in a couple different ways. So yeah, I'm glad you guys mentioned that. But can we explain why this is happening? Why I can't see anybody else inside my multiplayer game? How about that one? Because you guys are right. You guys are good. See, I knew I should have put a break in there, or I should have had a valid check. Harry, if you read it right, clients only send movement input RPCs to the server. Server in turn returns to the clients their actual positions, so clients don't actually move their relevant pawns at all. I believe that is correct if you're replicating character movement. Kazame, I guess if it can't find a proper spawn point, then it creates another copy of the map. That is an interesting thought. Let's pull this up. Because technically we have... Oh my god, look at that. Color map client 1. Which shows 4 starts, 4 player states, and how many players do we actually have? 1 character. Huh. Yeah. No. Everyone's right on the mistake here. I'm completely understanding of my mistake on this one. And it's just again because I'm in the middle. I'm just testing stuff out and see what happens. But this is a completely unexpected result, and I think Kaza may be right because if you look here, it says color map client 1. I wonder if it spawned in a different map for every client. Huh. Well, okay. That is quite interesting. So there's 2 ways we could fix this. Let's take a vote on which one you guys think is the most appropriate. Because honestly, I think they both work fine. We can turn this into a for each loop with a break. We could have it once we set our valid spawn point. We could break out of our loop and finish. That'll fix the problem with us basically setting all of them to used. So that was the first issue. This is the issue. The second way is we run the loop through continuously without breaking, but only if it's an invalid spawn point do we actually set this stuff. So for example, we could do an is valid check on the spawn point and then run through this information. Which one do you guys think is more efficient? I'm leaning towards the for each loop with break, because technically you're only going to run this as many times as you need to. If we do an is valid node, we're still going to end up looping through, 10 or 20 spawn points. Performance-wise, probably not much of an issue. Honestly, this isn't much of an issue. But this seems like it's going to be uglier, though. This is going to be uglier in terms of code, because we're going to have to wrap back. Well, let's try this method. Let's try doing this with the for each loop with break. Which, by the way, that was friggin'... This should have also been local variable. So, but this is just hilarious that I made that mistake. Completing back here, and then we wrap this into the break. Now it should fix the issue. Well, we managed to get 2 people on the same map. Huh. So the only thing else I can think of is the fact that we have everything running at the same time, and we're not exclusively locking anything out of our loop. That would be my first thought. Unless anyone else can think of something. Well, let's, I also think I should be keeping this in a local variable, probably. Yeah, so it's not a case of us not getting enough loops. I hate friggin' when it loops through the 4 loops. It's so annoying. Yeah, let's just go with this one and resume out. Okay. So we have 4 of them in here. This is going to be our I'm assuming... Oh, seriously, I can't see which one it is. I'm assuming it's the first one. Player start 3. Let's see. Frame skip. Frame skip. Frame skip. Frame skip. Frame skip. Frame skip. There we go. Player start 3. Yeah, so this one's firing through properly. So let's unstop this one. Resume. Let's see what our next one is going to be. Actually, let's put it here. Okay, so this one's going to come back with player start 4, which is what we expected, so that's fine. This one's going to come back with player start 2. Yeah, see, player start 2. So that one's working like expected. And this should be player start 2 without the underscore. Yeah, so all 4 of them worked. This one comes back as none. Okay, so we have player start. Let's see, this will be 5, 6 times. Okay. So our player start fired off 6 times. Didn't we run into this issue before where it was firing off too many times for our events? Here, let's find out. Let's see what happens. That's what's great about this is debugging. Stop it. Let's print string. Let's see. Okay. Oops. Let's debug that. Yep, 6 times, I think. Okay, let's, I wish this would default to a bigger number, honestly. Player controller 1, player controller... Yeah, look at that. Player controller 1, player controller 1, player controller 2, player controller 3, player controller, player controller. Player control... What the... Okay, yeah. This is running with a dedicated server, correct. That's what we're running in right now. We're running in the dedicated server mode. Let me get rid of my post login, these ones. So let me get rid of these ones so we don't see those anymore. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We know, so for example, we should have one of these is player controller. Yeah, look at that. Wow, okay, so anyone have any thoughts on this one? Obviously, it's not doing what we'd expect. As far as I know, find player start, it says it returns the specific player start actor that should be used for the next spawn. This will either be a previously saved start actor or calls choose player start. Yeah. We know why this is happening now. First of all, we learned that you can spawn up extra maps if there's nowhere valid to spawn, which I thought is really weird. But if you notice, this one's running through fine. And it's finding our spawn points. This one's running through fine. But these ones are calling extra controllers. This stuff is all run on the server. There should be no reason anything but the server should be calling this stuff. We know our post login, if we do our post login here, and we hit play, we know our post login is called 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So not an issue there. Well, this is definitely failing. I'm trying to pull out of my array too many of them. Interesting. Do we not, I'm gonna say I'm a little bit confused on this one, to be honest, guys. So Wander, put an is valid in the array output. Right here in the player starts. because this one works fine. I didn't have an issue with this one. Could there be a concurrency issue? There could be, but obviously there's an issue with my understanding of networking here. We have our post login event. Notification that a player successfully logged in has been given a player controller. This one event right here is called 4 times. We can see 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's what we'd expect. Loop array element. Okay, if you mean... Okay, yeah, no. To answer your question, Wander, no. Some of these are coming back as invalid. I can guarantee some of these are invalid. I walked through it, and the problem is the first 4 are being set with the first 4 requests, and then the next 6 are being basically returned back as invalid. Who it's giving it to is what I don't understand, because we're getting back multiple player controllers, and it's not a case of there being an exact amount. You see controller, 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 controller. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 player controllers, and 2 player controller 1s, and a player controller 2 and a player controller 3. And they're all connected. No, they're all connecting to the dedicated server because the server's putting that output out. It's just these 2 are connecting to a completely different map because they have invalid outputs. I mean, if I was to do something really as simple as just, if we broke this apart, we grabbed our first one, because remember, this is what we first tried, and we put this into our spawn point. We basically said, find player start, which is declared and a pair with a different signature. What? Oh, yeah, because we probably have to hook that up. Okay, so if we ran this, you'll notice we get all 4 people in the same map, in the same spawn point. That's what we expected to happen. We expected that to happen because we're literally just grabbing the first player start out of our array. So we know this code right here works perfectly fine. But that code is calling itself, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. We're getting player controller 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. So we're actually getting each one called twice this time. Kazume, there cannot be 2 objects of the same name. Several controllers have to call the spawn logic more than once. Is it because the controllers are colliding with themselves and the server is assigning the same controller multiple times? Okay, so, let's see. 3, 4... And I already knew this was going to be an issue in terms of designing this, simply because the logic isn't completely understood. Yeah, they are definitely failing for some reason, and they try again. That's why we're getting multiple calls. Okay, that seems like the proper logic. The find player start code is basically being called more than once. So do we only want to... Yeah, I agree with that one. How do we determine if they're failing? How do we figure out why they're failing to spawn? Okay, so I'm reading through some stuff right now on like the answer hub and things like that regarding multiplayer spawn points. There's obviously something really simple we're missing here. Choose player start, get all actors of class, get a random integer and spawn. Okay, so someone's answer is literally just to get a random spawn point. That's obviously not what we want to do here. Okay, multiplayer spawn point. First, create a player start class, which you extend with a new variable called team. We're going to call ours, we don't really care. It could be an integer, we don't really care. Place your not default player start in the level. Cool. Cool, we've already done all that stuff. In your game made on begin play, search for all player starts. Well, we know that doesn't work properly. We know we cannot do that if we have a listen server. But that's their idea. Now override find player start. That is technically what we're doing here. Function is called when the player is about to spawn, and the spawn system asks you which player start to use. It'll give you a player controller. Based on that, assign a proper player start from the array by checking if the player controller is assigned to a specific team. So in player control, okay, so that is another way of doing that. Yeah, that's funny. Literally what I just read is basically what Kazame is saying. If you restrict it to only run once for each controller, then some of them shouldn't spawn at all. We can check that. Yep. That's my thought process right here. We basically have to keep track of if the player controllers actually spawned or not, I guess, or assigned a respawn point. And that was done by Shadow River. It was a good post. I'm not going to argue, but unfortunately, it doesn't answer everything we need. I added a bool instead of an integer, which we did. Collision sphere, so we could check. That's what I plan on doing here. The override of the function, I got all classes spawned. Then got the bool. Built a new array with the ones that have respawn taken set to false. Then get a random spawn point from the array, and voila. Yeah, so that's a possibility. What is the player with the player start map solution again? Player start map. Which solution is the player start map? Yeah. Actually, what I'm curious about here, since we did see that being called multiple times, what if... Wasn't there a code where you mapped a player controller to a starting position? Wait, we have the old code here. The problem with this is it doesn't really take into account if a player spawn point was used or not, or more than a certain amount of player spawns, or gives the ability to randomly choose a spawn point. Yeah, no, that worked fine. The problem was it it hard-coded things too much. The only reason we did this is because we were basically hard-coding our starts to our players. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do random. Yeah. No, Harry's got a good question. I can use the map to assign things, but the problem is, in the future, for example, let's say someone dies and I need to find a new player start, I'm already going to have something assigned to them inside the player start map. I'd have to remember to clear it out later. I'm trying to not to force things or assign things as much as possible, if that makes sense. Doing this, unfortunately, is hard-coding it during the creation. Not hard-coding it, but linking things together. I'm trying to avoid using that. I'm trying to make everything as runtime and fluid as possible. That's the goal here. I think doing the player start one, I think the player start is the player controller is the smart idea on this one. Let's see what happens if we do that. Let's just see if we do something in here and see if this resolves the issue. That was a function. That was not a variable. Yeah, you can. I can remove the map and post login. There's there's lots of ways of doing this. You're right. That is a good. Let's try both of them. How about that? There's no reason why we can't try both of them. Let's try. Let's try both of them. I can figure out where I was at. I keep losing the method I was in. Okay. So what we're going to do here is, this still worked perfectly fine. Our issue we ran into was the player controller, which I'm going to have to move some code. Yeah, so let's grab our player controller. I really should start making some local variables here. And that's not going to work. See? Okay, so my issue with this one is because that variable was added in to the player controller, I'm going to have to do something like that. which kind of bothers me because I'm gonna have this ends up hard coding my player controller. So it looks like Harry's method may actually be the more generic version we might have to do. So we pretty much want to just skip this if we already have a player start, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's bear through all this giant muck right here. Start. Please start. Now this is gonna look ugly, but this is just to see if it works. If we don't have valid player start, okay. So let's see what happens here. Oh, look at that! It's a crash. Probably should have saved before I crashed the engine. Ooh, that's a hard crash too. Look at that. To be fair and proper design, the cast wouldn't be an issue because you would just have a player controller master. I agree with that, but what if we were selling this item on the marketplace? What if we were doing this as a multiplayer kit, and we were doing this on the marketplace, and they had to drop in their custom stuff? We would be forcing them to go into our code and edit our code that we sold to them to put in their class, for example. I mean, there may be a way to work around that, but I just don't know for sure. But the less stuff we have to hard code, the better. But that also crashed pretty spectacularly. Let me tell anyone. Yeah, let me do something first of all. Hold on. Remember I said these should be local variables? Yeah, let's make these local variables so I can stop saying these should be local variables. Okay, so tell me if I'm doing something. Yeah, I'm trying to keep things as generic as possible. That's my biggest goal here. And by keeping it as generic as possible, hopefully we can learn things like without hard coding stuff. So let's grab our local controller. Let's set is valid. No, we need to cast. That's right. Cast to the color. My color controller's not there because I didn't save. Okay, so there's a lesson there in case anyone didn't notice that. Always save all before you run, because we managed to lose a couple minutes of work there. Oh, look. Wait a minute. I already didn't. Wait a minute. Oh, that's lovely. There we go. Wow, things were so out of sync right there. Okay. That's lovely. Let's see. Do we have a variable in here? It has valid. Okay. So someone tell me if this logic is wrong, because I could swear I didn't do that wrong. You know, let's not even check. Let's just get this thing to crash again. I mean, not to crash. Let's just get to run again. Okay, let's save all and run. Okay, yeah, okay. Everyone's still doing in the first spot, which is what I planned. Whoa, that was weird. It crashed without this even being set up, which is kind of funny. Okay. We should get that weird issue. Oh, look at that! Wow, look at that. Huh. Let's see. General classes, or make them change inheritance to inherit your classes. Yep. The live stream opened on accident from Mr. Onion. Good. He says I wanted to say thank you for helping me on learning Unreal Engine. Yeah, my loop is the old loop wasn't hooked up. The loop should be hooked up, but why did it crash? Oh, I know I did. I know I crashed. Interesting. Okay, so I know why this crashed. I wonder if anyone else has realized why it crashed. And this is also... Okay, boom. This is also why I... No. Oh, well, first of all, you're right about this. No, it's not only that, it's never leaving our. There's no return node. This is why I was trying to avoid this stuff. It's failing. I don't have my player controller set up properly to be the color player controller. I never edited the game mode, which I'm in right now. I never told it to use our new player controller. So when we got to this point right here, the cast was failing, and since we never had a return node, we have an issue there as well. We had a bunch of stuff. So that's why I was trying not to use something specific like that. So at least we know that's an issue. And the other point was that our array never got set up properly. We just had a giant mess of stuff there, didn't we? Okay. So now we're back to that issue where we have 2 people seen and 2 people not. Okay. So, wow, that was just a giant mess. I'm going to say that much. So let's get this. Now we'll cast it to our player color controller. Like this. It's over. And, valid player start. I think we ended up with like 4 different issues there causing it to crash, which is kind of cool. And false. Okay, so let's try that one. Yep, and true isn't gonna. Crap, we're gonna run into this issue here. If it already has a valid player start, we would have to find the valid player start to it. Yep, returned an unset variable. Crap. So this method, in theory, if we already have a player start, don't run this code again, is going to run into an issue because the fact we need a return node here with a valid spawn point. I think there's a lot of problems with this one, this method. Well, I can't set an empty return node. Okay, let me rephrase that. I shouldn't set an empty return node. If I set an empty return node, then we're going to return back no player start, which means it's going to spawn at like 000 or something. We're not going to get our valid one that we've already assigned. I could be wrong. Apparently may be wrong. That's just creepy. Okay, so that worked, as we can see here. So maybe we're we can see it working. We can see we called 4 post logins and 4 player controllers. So that worked. So is this calling it on an invalid player controller, something that doesn't exist? So this doesn't matter then? So this should get called. Yeah, see, this gets called. This should get called. Remember how we had a weird amount of player starts? This will end up getting called on that weird number of player starts. And as you can see, it is a valid controller. But it's a valid controller that's technically not assigned to anything. Well, at least, oh, you know what it is? Okay, so I have a feeling I know what it is. Okay, let's do this. This is what I'm gonna do. For debugging purposes. Let's try this. This is for our nice debug purposes. I have a feeling what Kazame mentioned earlier is exactly what's happening right here. Which does make sense. I don't like this at all. Okay, yeah, see, there's... Okay, wow, that is... Yep, and then see, these 2 never end up starting. We only get our 2 players. Huh. Okay, let's see what everyone's saying. Still returning null, awful practice. I agree. Cosme, we should not do that. I definitely agree on that one. It's okay as it's invalid. See, this is our issue we're running into. Um, huh. So you can see here when we have our player controllers failing, for example. We've already had an assign point. We're telling, so we are basically reassigning, as you can see here. So they are being called more than once. We do have these things being called twice. Huh. This works. Okay, let's just start with this. This works fine. We get we get a result that we want. Whoops, I closed it down. Okay. This code gets us what we want. We get a result that we are expecting. However, when we actually tell it to spawn, we are still talking things. Okay, I have an idea. That's the nice part about this. We can test multiple things. We are going to have 8 player starts. We are going to be able to click this last one if it would let me. There we go. We're going to end up with 8 player starts, and let's see what happens. Yeah, see, they still all start in the first 4. And now if we were to get rid of our check here and just allow it to run through 8 times, what ends up happening? Yeah, see? It is. It's going to continue through. Poisonated, this stream is not advanced at all because I should not say we, I literally have almost no idea what I'm doing with multiplayer. We are trying to learn how it functions and why it doesn't function like we expect it. So here we go, guys. So we've basically been trying to handle an edge case, but let's try to handle it in terms of a generic case. I have 8 spawn points. I run through and I try to find the player start. Okay. We know that for whatever reason, it's being called multiple times for every controller. And you can see it here. We're basically spawning in 2 characters on 2 of the spawn points and 2 more on 2 different spawn points out of the 8. And we're basically skipping some. This multiplayer will work with Steam. We're not even working with connecting to other people right now. All we're doing is learning. We're trying to make a player start. That's literally all we're trying to do. A valid, proper player start is all we're trying to do. And we are having a horrible time with it. Let's switch this over to a listen server and see what happens. Yeah, listen server, I get the same result. The reason I say why this is an issue that we don't want to happen is we'll switch this back to dedicated and I'll switch this up to 6 players. We'll hit play and we're going to end up with that issue where we have people not spawning in the server with other people. You see how we have 2 people again? We have 4 people with each other and 2 people not. Let's see how many. I want to see how many of these we get. 1 1 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 5 0 0 0 0. I have a feeling these are zeroed out because they're spawning in a different map. They're no longer colliding. We still got our 6 player logins. Okay. But in case anyone's wondering on the stream, there's a really nice chat about blueprints, null pointers, and returning bad things. I have a feeling that we should not be doing some of the stuff we're doing. Let's go back to our choose player start. We noticed that this never gets called. I'm going to delete all the code we just did because I like doing stuff like that. Okay. So post login and choose player start. So let's see what happens. You'll also notice that choose player start, spawn 6 times. So maybe we've just simply been doing this in the wrong node. That is a possibility. So let's see if we can undo what I just deleted. Oh, look, I can't undo a function you delete. That's always lovely. Let's see, get all actors. Let's see if we can re-implement this really quickly. Go player start. We're gonna basically redo what we did and see if it functions properly inside of a different override. So we're gonna for each. And I swear, if this works, whoops, we wanted this to be a break. Let's learn our lesson this time. If this works properly and the other function doesn't work, then we do at some point need to figure out why the other function didn't work properly. So, because obviously these functions are created for some reason. These are inside of the engine for a reason. We just need to find out why they're in there. So we already know if it's true, nothing's going to happen. If it's false, we are going to we're going to return that. So we'll have to hook this up. So let's hook it up here so I don't forget. And then we're going to set is used on that one. And I could swear we had another node in here, but I forgot what it was. I don't know. Let's see what happens when we hit play this time. Look, 6. There we go. See? So, whoa. Yeah. So this worked perfectly fine. Literally the same code we tried to create before and had the issue with is working perfectly fine when we threw it in a different function. Instead of using the where to go? Find player start function. If you don't override that, because if we override the find player start, we get an error. We're gonna have a problem here. We're gonna friggin' crash this thing. Didn't we learn this like a week ago? To not return null in the find player start function? Yeah, we did learn that before, didn't we? That's why it keeps crashing. I keep forgetting that's why it keeps crashing. I swear, how much of my stuff did I end up losing right now? Nothing. Good. Okay. So find player start we don't want to use. Find player start for whatever reason has an issue. Choose player start, same literal code, works perfectly fine. Look at that. Did work. Oh yeah, we're down to 4 people. Yeah, works perfectly fine. We even have an overlap, which is good. We could, yeah, see? So that worked perfectly fine. That is just, oh man. I'm just going to say out loud, I'm not happy with that at all. But that's fine. Custom event. Player spawned here. Or we'll do with player spawning here. In case we want some sort of a particle effect or something later. Just a generic event we can do whatever we want with. So player spawning here. This one's actually going to set is used internally. We're going to set a timer by function name. And this one's going to be called custom event. And this will be enable a spawn point. We should probably call this enable player start because technically this is a player start. This will be enable player start. It's going to be the spawn cooldown. We're going to set this to a default of 2 seconds. And we're going to promote this to a timer. And this will be our spawn timer reference. Make sure that's hooked up. Set this. Oops, not set. We're going to get this. Clear and invalidate. Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing that considering it's already going to clear itself when it calls itself. That was just me being silly. We're trying to set this one to unused. That's all I was trying to do. There we go. We'll go back to our game mode. We no longer set the variable directly. We call the spawning player spawning here. So that takes care of everything internally. Now we should have the same result as before. with our 6 people. Yeah, we don't have enough player starts, so that's why that guy doesn't spawn. And that's perfectly fine. That's kind of expected. I should probably just reduplicate this for testing purposes. Here. Let's grab our player starts and duplicate them over here. Here we go. We should get 6 unique spots this time. There we go. It's like we expected. 6 spots. And then let's, for testing purposes, we're gonna make this editable so we can actually see it. We're gonna change our cooldown timer to 5 seconds. 10 seconds, because apparently I don't know how to count properly. We're going to run this. We're going to grab ourselves a player start. And why do variables not show up properly in here? I can't figure this one out. I've been having issues the last couple days with this. Well, actually, you know what? I don't even need to do that. Again, print string should be what we want here. Print string. I'm going to print and used. Again, just debugging stuff here. We're going to go like that, and then we're going to go like that. Okay. Let's see. I have a feeling I did something wrong. So let's see. There we go. True, 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 true. And then we should get, after 10 seconds, a bunch of falses. There we go. Falses. Okay, cool. Stupid things. Let's see. Didn't quite catch that. Is choose player start also an override? It's also an override. They are, whoops, that's the function I created on accident. There is a find, where to go? Find player start and a choose player start. Choose player start is called properly once per player controller, whereas find player start is not properly called, and I don't know why. So choose player start fixed our issue. Let's see, yeah, they spawned at 0-0 because I didn't have enough player starts. That is correct. You're returning while in the loop. I should not be returning while in the loop. I am returning while I'm in the loop. Well, that's just kind of silly. Like I said, I knew there was something I wasn't doing right here. I just couldn't remember what it was. Thank you for pointing that out, though. That should not be there. I was recreating this from memory, and I couldn't friggin' remember. Thank you for pointing out my dumbness here. There we go. This is probably what we should be doing, like this. There we go. That way we're not doing it inside the loop. We're not returning the loop. We're simply checking once we find a valid player start. We're tagging that as our valid player start, breaking our loop, telling that valid player start we're spawning there, and then returning back that valid player start. Our end result shouldn't be any different. There we go. We get our 6 spawns in. But in terms of actual code, that was probably the more proper way of doing this. Thank you for pointing that out. Like I said, I couldn't remember. I knew I was doing it wrong. I just couldn't remember what I was doing wrong. Yep. Nope, you were correct, Old Siren. I was definitely returning inside the loop. That was silly, to be honest. And we can also clean this up a little bit. Like that. There we go. That's not quite as ugly. Still a little bit ugly, but definitely could be worse. Okay, so there we go. So now we have it proper, in theory. What were we working on? I completely forgot. Yeah, we were making sure that we should have, yeah. So server trues. That means our player starts are disabled, and then after 10 seconds, they should re-enable themselves. Anyone have any idea how to add an extra client at runtime so we could test that? I guess that's probably something we should start learning. I don't have this player start finished. Obviously, we're not finding a valid player start based on like Team 1, Team 2, Teams 3, and Team 4, but we are spawning in valid player start in terms of used and not used. What we actually need to do is we need to verify that we can spawn them, that the cooldown is refreshing itself, and we can respawn someone in after we've spawned someone in. That should make sense. Yes, old Siren, that is our evil Ubergraph is what that is. That is not something most people should be playing with. There's always YouTube to learn anything. That is true, Alex. There is always YouTube to learn everything. Check your hotkeys. There's add new client. Okay, let's check our hotkeys. First of all, let's see if there's anything in here. Nothing. Okay, so let's check our hotkeys. Keyboard. Is it going to be under project? It's probably going to be under editor settings, isn't it? There we go. Keyboard shortcuts. Spawn. Let's see. Convert spawnable. Spawn default. No. Let's try client. Add client. Add another client. That doesn't help because then I'd have to actually put a binding in there. Let's see. Just make sure you're on the server when you press the hotkey. So I have to make a hotkey here. So what do we want to do for hotkey? Let's go with the Alt / key and hope that is not used by anything else. Okay. So let's spawn thing. Oh shoot. I'm on the client. I have to run the listed server if we're going to do that. Okay, so let's run this on a listed server then. Okay. So we have 6 clients in our game right now, and I'm currently in the server. If we did this properly, I should spawn someone rough on someone else's spot. I crashed it. No, that didn't help. Okay, well, spawning in a new client crashed it. So that's lovely. Yeah, Wandered is bringing... Okay, so in case anyone's wondering what that actually is, that is the Ubergraph. We have this blueprint, and this blueprint has this function, and it has these events, and it has anything that macros out and things like that. When you compile, it makes an Ubergraph. It makes one graph that has everything on it. Think of it as your source code for your blueprint. There used to be issues in the past. If you crashed them properly, you got access to the Ubergraph, and that is that giant mess that Old Siren posted. It's your backing code for your entire blueprint is what it is. You're not supposed to have access to it because there's nothing you can really do with it. So let's see, add client PIE, because the shortcut for adding a client friggin' crashed Unreal Engine. So that was definitely not what we wanted to happen. Is there a way to stop a client from joining? Let's see. 3-4 stop client from joining. That's a good question. Okay, Google doesn't help on that one. Well, crap. So, okay, so here's the question then. How do we properly test joining on multiplayer? You can use sessions to manage kicking and such things. Well, here's the question. I have a listen server and 5 clients, so technically 6 clients total. How do I get rid of somebody? inside of Play and Editor? What can we do inside of Play and Editor to easily test joining and removing? Because, I mean, I can open, and that just restarted the server, so that didn't help. That's probably not what we want to do there. Okay. Yeah, because all we're doing is end up respawning at the base part. I can't close the client of when window. That will close the entire thing down. It does not work in Play and Editor when you do that. Yeah. You would think that they'd make it easier to be able to do stuff like we want, right? Let me go back to the editor preferences. Let's see, clients. Yeah, so add another client. We set it up. I wonder if... See, fuck, how do... Oh, grr. Okay. I'm going to go with Control-Alt-Shift-End. There should be no way anything else is bound to that, right? I want to make sure that we have no way of accidentally rebinding things. Lazaro, I'm using OBS for my encoding. Run as standalone. There it will work. Okay, so standalone. We'll do that. And hello, Stevie. Destroy the pawn, but keep the controller. I guess that's a possibility. Oh, look at all these. I have 6 things on my screen. This is kind of cool. You guys can't see the stuff on the other monitors. Oh, and I can't friggin' eject. Shift F1. Seriously, you're not going to cooperate. There's the server. There, let's, crap. Okay, so, there we go. Okay, cool. I managed to kill one of them. So that does work from here. So how the hell do we... How would we even add a new one in here? So I can destroy them properly. See, like I can go bloop. Whoops. Gotta click and go bloop. And then we'll go click and then we'll go bloop. And that one disappeared off screen, so you didn't see that one disappear. So technically... Oops. Can I have my mouse back? Thank you. I have him and I have him. Oh, that's him. And there's the server. Okay, seriously, can I have my other client back? There we go. So we have 2 of them. We have a server and we have a client. Yeah, so we can kill them like that, but how do we add a new one? If we open, all we're going to do is reconnect to the server, I'm assuming, which is me, so that shouldn't help. I doubt the shortcut would work in standalone, would it? Yeah, the shortcut shouldn't work in standalone with the Play and Editor key. So that takes care of that one. Yeah, it's the simple fact that we don't have... I have a feeling we're going to have to test this, we're going to have valid... Oops, I did not mean to click that button. Dang it. I have a feeling we're going to have valid clients that don't start up automatically into a game like this. I have a feeling that's what we're going to have to do. Bear with me while I close down all the clients, because I hit play in edit that mode on accident. Okay, I want play in edit. I'm going to try crashing this again. Just bear with me. Yeah, so that's what happens when we do spawn new client. So that didn't work very good. And that's our shortcut for spawn new client. Okay, so we've been streaming for about an hour and 20 minutes. I think what I'm going to do is... I'm not going to end right now. We're going to try to finish up this player start with the rest of the stuff. Can you try play in viewport? The shortcut worked when I did that. Let's see. Play... were you running with a dedicated server or a listen server? Honeyed. But we will do... Whoops. Let's close that. Okay, so let's go back to play in viewport like that. And run our command. Control-Alt-Shift-End. Oh, look. Seriously, that worked. That was kind of cool. You guys see that working? Let's see if we do a bunch of times. It worked once. Okay, so at least I feel okay. I think we're getting somewhere. It looks like Honey's got us on the right track. Play in viewport did work because it had us as the server inside the viewport. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I think we got something here. Let's try. What I want to do now, okay, so we should be able to easily test now. Yeah, this is the fun part, crashing everything, which I don't mind. I actually like the fact that this stuff crashes. The simple fact it crashes means that we are trying things, and if we can get to crash, we can understand why it's crashing, which is good. We're good there. These are things like, for example, if I'm trying to show someone how to do networking and I want to show them how to do the spawning new stuff in, I can at least tell them, okay, now you need to make sure you do this, because if you don't, it's going to crash. And hopefully we can catch some frustration. I think we're good. Okay, here we go. So we have 6 of them in here. My main viewport selected. I should have a 20-second timer. So let's see if we do this. And we get someone to spawn. Hey, look, right here. He spawned where there was no other spawn point. He didn't duplicate on anybody. Okay, so let's tab back to my main viewport. Okay. I'm waiting. I'm trying to wait the 20 seconds. Now, in theory, if we did this right and our timer worked properly, we should get another guy that spawns roughly where I am now. Which he did. You saw him spawn right in front of me. And if we now go back to here and do it again, since our spawn point is occupied, we should be able to spawn someone in a different spot. And he spawns over here with this other guy. Obviously, he's not spawning on him. He's being moved because we have our collisions set to not spawn on top of each other. But yeah, you can see we have a bunch. Now, if I manage to wait 20 seconds, we should end up getting another person to spawn where I am. So let's see if we've waited 20 seconds. There we go. Cool. So we know our spawn point system is working properly. And there's a way to test it too. Thank you very much, Honey. I am glad you gave us that information. That definitely helped a lot in terms of figuring out why that wasn't working and an easy way to spawn in things. I'm also moving my... seriously, can I not move that? I'm trying to move my spawn points, in case anyone's curious. I don't like the fact that they are not along the edge. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, cool. So we have spawn points working. We have the proper usage. We know our timer's working. We know it's running off of our cooldown. So we'll never have anyone duplicate themselves back onto the cooldown. We still have other issues. Our game mode, for example, if it is unable to come back with a valid player start, we are telling it to spawn in the middle of the world. Probably not what we want to do. We should probably default it to either a random existing one or something like that. So I'm just going to leave that as is now because we know that's an issue. I'm more curious about making the team stuff working. So let's say we defaulted this to 2 teams. We'd have to somehow identify the player spawn. Okay, here's a question. So let's say you were designing this game and you were playing. Not playing the game, you're designing the game. And we're going to have red versus blue. We wanted all of these ones over here to be on team 1, which we're going to have red. And all of these ones, these 4, are going to be team 2, blue. Now when we place in our little spawn points here, ignore this player start tag. We're not going to use the built-in system. We're creating our own. We're not going to worry about this. We're going to use a variable setup to determine things. Do we just label these things like this is spawn point 1, spawn point, team 1, team 1, team 1, team 1, team 2, team 2, team 2, team 2? Yeah, we know. I know we need lobbies and stuff like that. This is just for, we don't. Okay, let's go. Let's put it this way. Technically, we need a lobby, but we don't need a lobby. We can make this work without a lobby. You know that. You know we can make things work. We're just going to jump right in and make this stuff work. Our game mode itself should probably determine the number of teams. And then should we just simply allow you to choose a number or type in a number on the player start, and then that is how you set the team number? Kazumi, red and blue arrays in the game mode. Every time a player spawns, place him inside the team which has less players inside. So basically having the game mode keep track of the players, which sounds like it's what the game mode should do. So it sounds like our game mode should have the stuff. Okay, so let's make a new folder, and we'll call this one Teams Examples. Now that we have some stuff that we're working out. I'm happy with this so far. And let's go ahead and just steal our player start and our map, and why don't we just steal everything because we can. There we go. And this is going to be our team's character. And I'm doing this separate because you technically want to keep... yeah, we're not going to hard code two teams. I like the basics of this. But we're doing these in different maps so that way we can... You know, our color examples... I kind of shouldn't have started to do this. Rest of this stuff, our color example map is intended to show the these things are different replication information. So our team examples is going to show how to set up a game mode that works with teams, is what it's going to do. And yeah, everyone feel free to chat in there. I like all the different ideas. Whether it's the right one or the wrong one, I don't know until we figure it out. That's what we're kind of going to discuss here. My thought process here is, let me get rid of this right here. And this one I technically don't need anymore. Let me, bear with me on this one. There is, yeah, no reason to have a player start. Okay, so our team game mode, we don't even need the index anymore. Yeah, I don't need any of that stuff. It's all local variables. We do need an external variable. So this is going to be the number of teams. This will be an integer inside of there, and then we're going to make that editable, expose and spawn, because I like that. Okay, so what do we got? In enum, so you can add teams, make a switch statement for which teams spawn based on the enum. Have a red and blue arrays. Each time a player spawns, place them inside the team. Which array has less players? You can set to least players in a team. You can do it at random. On each player start, assign enter a color. Players should be able to choose teams, but have limits. That is a good point. I had actually forgotten about that. We should probably account for that. Let's see. Weighted auto team balance. Don't force kill. Enum is not generic enough. Yeah. So there's a couple different options. The first thing we're going to do, let's just make it as generic as possible. Let's make it where we determine a number of teams. We're going to assume auto balance. So basically, we're going to spawn in someone on the opposite team that was spawned on last time. So we're going to have to keep track of the last team. So last team spawned. We're going to have that as an integer. Number of teams is going to determine how many we have. This is going to be an internal variable. So let me put it in the private category. And the number of teams, we're going to put in the setup category, like that. Okay, so we're going to go with stuff like this. And we're just going to basically make it when the player spawn point is chosen, we're going to have to check and validate that it is the appropriate number as well. So we should have that set up inside of our team player starts. Let me open up my team map. Let me grab all of my color starts. Let me replace them. Can I not replace? Oh, here we go. Replace selected actors with. Can I have my team start? Thank you. Replace selected with team player start. There we go. And even though that's, in case you guys didn't know that, you can replace stuff really simply just by right-clicking and choosing to replace. So I was able, even though the name is the same, every single one of these is now a team player start. So yeah, that's always nice and handy. Okay, so now we have team player starts in here. And we have our team game mode. So let's go ahead and change this to our team player starts. This would definitely be one of those instances where you would probably want a... oh, you know what? We don't need to do this. If we just look for player starts, because they are subclass, this should work fine, right? We shouldn't have to we'll have to put in a cast. But in our team game mode, that's perfectly fine because this is the game mode customized for that. You know what? I think we could do this. Let's compile. Frick! I'm gonna have to break my stupid loop because internally the loop is already changed to the different array type inside. So unfortunately, you can't reuse that after we've assigned it to one, which is annoying, but not a big deal. Yeah, this is going to. This is also one of those situations where if you had used interfaces, it would allow us to there's lots of ways we could do this properly. For learning purposes, since this is not intended to be a production game, we're going to keep these things as simple as possible. We'll use casting and stuff like that. In a production game, I'm thinking the smarter thing, if you intend to have multiple game modes, would be to have like a base player start that has your base shared variables, like is used and things like that, and then subclass off of that for your custom player starts and game modes and things like that. So that way you're in, your unique variables are inside the subs. So your childs have, the normal parent-child relationship. But that way we could, for example, we could cast less. In this case, we're going to have to throw some casting in here because of the way I'm searching. But it's perfectly fine. Seriously? Oh, yeah, and this is the team player start, which means this one is wrong. Even though it's technically the same, it is technically different because it's part of the team player start now instead of the color player start, which is always awesome and fun. Okay, so players used. Set the valid player start. The valid player start. This one could be a player start. We don't need this one to be a specific type. This one could be a generic player start. So that's fine. We can pull that off of here like that. Yeah, get rid of that one because I don't like that. Boop, there we go. Okay. So there's our valid player start. We return our valid player start. This one's wrong. We know that simply because we don't have it's not a colored player start anymore. This is one of those instances where if we had made a master player start, stuff like the spawning code would be inside of there. This one is a valid player start, which means we're going to need to cast this to our team. Player start. Come on, let's move this over. And then player spawning. Let's see. Players spawning here. That was also something I should have done. This one right here, enable player start, probably should not be public. Right here, this should be a private. Can't we make these private? Seriously, can we not make... We can make functions private, right? We can't make events private? Why does that not seem right? I don't like the fact that I can call that from anywhere. Yeah, we can make functions private, but not events. So let's turn this into a function, because I don't like the fact that that is public at all. Okay, so yeah, let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. Yeah. Because, yeah, I don't want this to be accidentally called from somewhere else. Yeah, I assume so as well, but there's no way to set events to private that I can see, at least not intuitively, I should say. It's definitely not here. Functions, yeah. Boom, private. Now we don't have the issue anymore. Of course, I kind of need to actually finish hooking this back up. There we go. So now we should not be able to call that on accident. That was my... we should not be able to call that... Okay, do I not have everything compiled here? Probably not. Let me... I have stuff to hook up before I have a feeling that's going to fix itself. Valid player start. COD. This is my finish event here. This is my break event here. This, by the way, in case you're noticing, this is why you should think ahead before you're doing stuff. We have so much reworking of code because I wasn't smart enough to think ahead, which is fine. For learning purposes, I don't mind stuff like this. Okay, so let's see if this, let's walk through this. We're going to grab all the player starts, loop through it, make sure it's a team player start, same thing as before, set that as valid, break out. We're going to make sure it's a valid player start, tell it player's going to spawn here, set that as a valid player start. Okay, so our choose player start code should be fixed now. Our player start itself, did we ever manage to, let's see. No, look at this, enable player start. So I'm not crazy. Okay, I'm not crazy here, right? If I make a variable private, in this case, where's that private? Because I only want this variable to be changed inside of here. It's the way private works, right? I'm not crazy here. I should not be able to change is used. I can change like the cooldown, because those are public, but I shouldn't be able to change is used. It's private. Yeah, that's right. I'm not wrong in that one. But why is the enable player start function showing up? Even though it is set as a private access. If anyone thinks I'm wrong on regards to how that should work, please feel free to let me know. But that seems like it shouldn't be showing up and I shouldn't be able to call it. But I can. Okay. That's another thing I need to look at some point. Getting slightly off topic. That really doesn't help. Let's see what happens here. Okay. We have people not spawning in properly. Cool. We have stuff broken, which is what I figured. I didn't finish doing stuff. Let's see. Player spawn here. Choose player start and color game mode. Okay, yeah. So our problem is we are in our team map, but we are not using our team game mode. Second of all, our team game mode is not set up with the proper default settings. So we need our team player controller and we need our team character. And there we go. So now we should have our proper team stuff. We'll spawn this in. And there we go. So there's our teams properly spawning. It looks like you're calling an event, not a function. Yeah, they're going to look the same, though. That's the problem. Your stuff is pretty much going to look the same. Yeah, maybe something's out of sync. I'll have to look into that. I'm not really worried about that. And yeah, I do have an empty return node, but technically I have to have something here, and I guess technically I could return back the first value in here if we wanted to. Would that be smarter? Probably. If we wanted to be smarter, we would probably yeah, you know what, I'm going to agree with you on that one. It probably isn't smart to return back an empty one. Yeah, let's just simply return back something valid. It'll spawn at the first one, if anything. Okay, that would probably be smarter. And yeah, okay. Technically, I have that one over there as failed too, so let's grab this. Hold on a second. Yeah, no, sorry about that. No, that was me. I muted it. I had a phone call come in. I'm sorry about that, guys. It's not the mic being special. It's the user using the microphone that's being special. My thought process that I was trying to say and apparently wasn't coming through was inside of our game mode, we're going to determine the number of teams. So in this case, let's say I set it to 2 teams. Our player starts have the ability to grab from anywhere, like the maximum number of teams, so 2 in that case, and set that up as the minimum and the maximum. The problem is I want to do that on the construction script, but I don't think. Well, actually, I really should have tried this first. Is our game mode valid during construction? Let's find out. I'm actually curious. Max number of teams. Not max number, just number of teams. Maybe someone knows the answer to this one already. Go. Is this let's see. Oh, I need to cast. Hold on a second. So this is a team 1. So I'm going to cast a team. And then get number of teams. There we go. Does anyone know if this is valid? It looks like it's not. If you noticed, when it compiled, it failed. So I don't know if getting the game mode counts as a fail or if the casting counts as a fail. Because technically we are in our team map and we do have a team game mode. I had a feeling this was going to fail, but I assumed it was going to fail before I tested it. But you can see here that it seems like it is failing. Actually, because yeah, let's just print a string. Let's just print a string just to be safe. I also want to know why my player starts aren't firing off the construction script anymore. Oh. Oh, I need to. I don't know if I chose the one I was working with, wasn't it? Yeah. See, I don't think this will work. See, I'm not worried about playing editor. My idea was if you have your game mode and we set the number of teams in our game mode, then limit the number that you can change for the team number in here between the minimum and the maximum number of teams. Basically a safety to make sure someone doesn't type in the wrong number of teams on a player start. But it's not going to work because we're simply not going to be able to grab that at runtime. That was just my thought. It was a good idea. It just can't do that. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and set this up. So let's set up this one, that one, and that one. We'll set these as team 1. Set that one, that one, that one, and that one as team 2. Okay. So now we should have team 1 and team 2. Where did my stupid I clicked on stack mesh that doesn't have, there we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, play in editor would have worked, but it wouldn't resolve the issue. I want to edit in editor, not play in editor. Good ideas. Just not going to work. Not a problem. Not even an issue. So our game mode, since this is the team game mode, is going to have to keep track of the last team spawned. And it's actually going to have to keep track of players per team, isn't it? So this is going to be okay, so let's make this as generic as possible, but I'd like personal opinions on how you guys would think you would do this. I don't want this to be expanded on yet, so no auto team balance, no being able to choose your teams. Just think of it in plain and simple, the plain and simple sense of I'm going to find a player start for somebody. I'm going to see which team I need to spawn in. So, for example, it's going to be team 1. Then I'm going to find a valid spawn point for them and give them the valid spawn point for Team 1. Now I need to keep track of the fact that I have someone spawned in on Team 1. Do I just make it a generic array? A two-value array where Team 1, I keep track of how many are in Team 1 and keep track of how many in Team 2, just generically in terms of an integer? Or do I two different variables? It seems like two different variables would be bad because we can't expand the number of teams. Do we set it up where we have an array, but it holds the controllers? So then we count the number of controllers on each team rather than an integer? Which would you guys think would be the way you would implement this? Keep track of the controllers per team in an array, or keep track of just a generic integer showing the number of players per team? That's my question, basically. Players. The question, Harry, is we have to spawn in players per team. How do we keep track of how many players are there per team? Do we just keep track of it in an array in an integer format? For example, turn this into an array, turn this into integers, and then I have something like, 10 and 9 while I'm playing. So I know I have 10 people on Team 1 and 9 people on Team 2. Or do I change this into an array of controllers, and I keep track of the controllers that are inside each one? And then maybe, like Siren is mentioning, do we put this in a map, and then we just keep track of which team they're assigned to based on the map? Like controller X is assigned to Team X type thing. Tags probably wouldn't be the best, because all we want to do is just keep simple track in here. I'm thinking let's start with just an array of integers just to get this working. And then we can expand on it into maybe something like a map system where we keep track of which team everyone's assigned to inside of the game mode in terms of like an array of maps. Can we do an array of maps? No, it would have to be an array of structs. No, it would just be a map. Duh, never mind, it would just be on a map. Yeah, the array of controllers would be useful. So let's do it the basic way. Let's do it both ways. Let's work on, actually, let's do it all 3 ways. I'm going to go 3 ways. Let's do just an array of integers, and then we'll expand it into like an array of controllers, and then we'll do it in terms of maps. And that way we can go from like the basic way to the harder way to the basic way to a better way but harder to a better way but easier. Let's try that. I like that. We're going to set this to -1 as our last team spawned. And we need to really simply fix this. We need to put in more conditions, basically. So when we come in here, we are going to let's see. Let's see if we can really simply do this. We're gonna increment this by 1, so that way it is our next team that we want to spawn in. And then we are going to, as far as I know, you can't stupid wrap, unfortunately. Yeah, if you put it in a struct, you can have an array as a value of a map. There's lots of weird ways we could do this. Let's just try doing this really stupid, simple way. I could be wrong on this one, by the way. I've never found an easy way of doing this. But if anyone knows a way to... it's not clamp, because the problem with clamping is I need to wrap is what I need to do. So if anyone knows a way to easily wrap a value without using like a modulus, there's already a note in here, let me know. I hate how these things are off by like one freaking thing. So basically, if our number of teams, not the number of teams, if the last team spawned, which we just changed, is greater than the number of teams. So we've wrapped is what we've done at this point in time. Then we need to grab the last team spawn, and we need to subtract the number of teams. That's not going to work right? 2 teams, comes in at 0, we're good. Comes in at 1, we're good. No, team. Okay. Bear with me. My brain stopped functioning properly. This is what I meant to do. Team 1, we're good. Team 2, we're good. Third time we come through. This is why I asked if there's a stupid way of doing this built in, because I always screw this one up. Modulo works fine. My brain literally freezes up whenever I try to do it with modulo for some reason. I know you can do it properly, it's just my brain doesn't. So team 3 is our last team spawned. It's greater than the number of teams, which is 2. Yeah, so we're going to just simply subtract 3 minus 2 gives us back to 1. Yeah, okay, cool. We're good here. Yep. Okay, again, had to make the brain function here properly. Last team spawned, so here we go. So this allows us, no matter how many teams we have, this little bit of code should wrap it around for us automatically. So this should give us, and this is a really horrible way of organizing this. I had to clean this up. I don't like how ugly I've got this. And of course I managed to offset everything by 1 by doing it that way. That's lovely. There we go, we'll go with that. Yeah, old Siren, math is my literal enemy, is the nemesis that I always get defeated by. Okay, so this will give us our last team spawn. So this will give us, in terms of teams, which team we need to spawn it. So this should not be called last team spawn. That is a horrible, horrible name for it. Next team number. Let's call it next team number, because that was, whoops, that was the proper way it should be called. Okay, so this gives us our next team number. We'll go through. Now we need to check and see if it's a player start. It's not player start. Get number, right? Get team number. We're gonna move these over a little bit. This is why I friggin' hate breaks. There's a better way of doing this. I don't do it. Okay, so this one is equal to the next team number, and then we can turn this into an and wait, no, not, because that's a used. Oh crap! Now we need to flip our branch. So if they're not used, and it's equal to the team number we want, then we get a valid Boolean, and we have to flip this from false to true. Move this back over here. There we go. So this should give us a valid spawn point that we want when we do it like that. And it should give us a valid spawn point as we come through. And the next time we come through, we should increment this. We should get a spawn point for team 2, and then we should go from there. And then it should cycle through. It'll still invalidate the ones. This should be fine. Yeah, Kazame, your answer is perfectly correct. Like I said, we need to start from the beginning. We're not doing the fanciest spawning system in the world. We're going to start from the beginning, which is just simply flip-flopping between 2 teams. That's all we're going to do now. Because your question, basically, you should check the current amount of the team members, not the last team spawned. If a player left from one team and another one spawned, then another team would have 2 more. That is correct, assuming we were going to allow people to join in later. In this case, we're not doing anything. We're just simply on spawn trying to match up the teams as best as possible. Those are more things we can work on once we get the basics working. And yes, to answer your question, Honey, you could set it straight to 0. But in general, I'd like to not do that because this method comes from like addition of like a clock or something like that, where if you accidentally get up too much, it allows you to reset back to just. Let's see, what's the easiest way of saying this? If for some reason we accidentally got too far ahead, like let's say for example we got 2 numbers above, rather than sending it back to 0, we're just going to subtract from where we currently are back to where we should be. If that kind of makes sense. It's weird, but this is just a method I use for wrapping around things in regards to numbers and math. So I use the same system. It's weird. I won't argue. If in our case, though, yes, if we were to simply set this to 1, for example, as our next team member, it would be fine. We get the same end result. I literally have no idea what's going to happen right here. Do we have any did I have a... No, okay. So in theory, it's possible that the code we created worked. We obviously saw... I didn't see any error there. I don't know if anyone saw an error. I do see 3 people per team. Actually, that seems like it worked then, right? If we change our spawn into 4, we should see 2 people per side, right? Yeah, okay. So it looks like the code's working. Yeah, that's the biggest thing, Honey. When you add more than 1 at a time is where this method works better. And since I'm used to this method, I just like to re-implement it all the time. It's useful, for example, when you're doing a clock or a timer or something like that, and you can't always guarantee the tick's going to be exactly on like an even number. If you subtract a whole number, then you just get the remainder. So it's kind of like a fake modulus. But this worked. We obviously can't tell that our team members are on the right team, which should be super simple. How would we do that? Okay, so there's a good question there. So now that we've got a basic team system set up here, I have 2 people spawning on this side, 2 people spawning on that side, 1 from each team. Let's say you were trying to make this into a more of a professional setup. When the player spawns in, so let's grab our player right here. Here's our player. He doesn't have a team right now, so let's assign him a team number. And he's going to have a team number. When our player spawns him in, should the player tell the player what number they are? Or how should the player be notified of what team number they are? How about that? What are your guys' ideas on that one? How should the player know which team number they are? And should this be on the character or should this be on the controller? There's another question I've got for you. What are you guys' opinion? And for Old Siren, yes, feel free to paste a link. I have no problem with that. I only mentioned that math is my nemesis because of how difficult of a time I have with it. But I'm always looking for more ways of learning and things like that. So yes, feel free to paste a link on that one. I have no issues with that. Learning resources are appreciated. I'm leaning towards maybe our player controller is the one who should determine our team. What do you guys think? Should the teams be based on the controller? Since our character technically is just a pawn of our controller? Okay, Honey is saying going with the character. So we've got 1 vote for character now. And I'm thinking our game mode should tell is what it is. Let's see, but our game mode only has technically access to the controller. I don't think our pawn is spawned yet. Um, well, I'm not worried about the color itself because that can be replicated. That's not a problem. The game mode can tell the controller which color it is. The controller can tell the pawn which color it is, and then we can replicate that from the server, and it can tell everybody else which color that pawn is supposed to be. Technically, when it spawns in, it can set itself up. We don't even need that to be a replicated event, to be honest. Let's try that. Let's try let's try something here, which is funny because I actually already have all these things in here. And what we would do is we could do, where's our, no, yeah, let's get rid of all of these because we don't need any of these. This is all of our other code. We're gonna dupe that for now. Let's see, custom event, set team color. And we don't, should be fine because this should fire on every instance of itself. Who's going to call? The player controller. See, the player controller. Player data. They used a few streams earlier. That's a possibility. Okay, let's think about how this would work, because I have a feeling doing it like this is not going to work properly. But you know what? I really don't care. This is going to be another instance of learning, which is nice. There we go. Get select. And set vector parameter value. This is going to be the body color, and this is going to be output, and then we're going to set team. Shoot, we don't have team 0, do we? We need a team. Where's my other pin? Option pin. So team 1 is going to be red. Team 2 is going to be blue. So in theory, this should work if it's called properly. Set team color. But so we have our game mode here. This is game mode. This is where we are doing things. This is where we spawn things in for our player start. This is where we're technically assigning a team number. This is our players right here, which we're not even working with yet. Wow, there are so many things. Okay, so this needs to be fixed. We never fixed this one. We never assigned our number anywhere, which, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about that. This is something that we technically don't need for this one. This is for the second part. Here, let me turn this into a variable like this. So now we have a variable for our player controller. Yep. In case anyone's wondering, no, I honestly don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm literally winging this as I go, seeing what might work and will. I have a feeling we're going to run into a network replication error here at some point. But my goal here is to basically tell the player controller, brain. Okay, the brain can do this sometimes. The goal is to tell the player controller what our value is for our team at this point in time, and then propagate that down to the player itself. Because right now we can't get the player, and I don't know for sure if the player is actually spawned in at this point. So it seems smart not to test that, if that makes sense. So here's our player start. Here's our valid player start. Let's grab our player controller. Let's cast this to the team player controller like this. And then we're going to set the value in our team player controller. So let's time our team player controller. We're basically just passing stuff around right now. This is our team number, which is an integer. I'm hoping there's a possess function we're going to be able to override here shortly. That's my goal. That's my hope. I'm literally just hoping there'll be stuff that I can latch onto here shortly. There we go. So, and then we'll pass in the team number, which is this one right here. And again, we have another one of these stupid nodes, so let's just put this here because we can. Okay, so at least we get rid of our one. Okay, so that should pass along that to the controller. Now, does our character have a possess? Yeah. See, so this is what I was hoping for. The pawn is possessed by a controller. See, normally only occurs on the server standalone. So that is where we're going to run into an issue. Unless we do server replication, right? In theory, that should be work. We have a possessed node here? Okay. Yeah, you know what? I think we can do this. I bet you we can do this. So this is our possessed event. This should be called whenever we're possessed by our controller. And our controller should have the valid information from our... here. I hope. We're going to find out here in a second. Let's find out, actually. This is our team player controller. And print string. You know, it'd be nice if there was a flow chart that detailed literally. It was a data, not a data table, but a visualization flow chart. Those stupid flow charts where they start at the top and say start here, if this, go this way, if this, go that way. And you could actually walk through the exact process of things being created and data being propagated. That would be nice. Okay, so let's see what happens when we do this, shall we? That was way too quickly. Where'd it go? Where did my character go? There we go. I'm pretty sure that worked fine, though, based on the fact that I saw some numbers. Okay, so it looks like we're fine. We have valid... what I didn't know is if we were going to have zeros for an invalid number or 1 or 2 for our team number. So that worked out fine. Good. So it looks like this is valid here. So once we're possessed, in the character, grab our team number and then set our team number internally from our player controller. And then we should be able to call... should actually be able to call an onRep. So it's probably going to need a replicated variable here. So we'll work on that in a second. I'm deleting some stuff right now because I can. I didn't want to delete that one. There we go. Do I want to delete that one? Why not? We'll delete it. Wait, where am I using this at? Let's find out. Oh, I did that in the beginning. Nah, we don't need to do that. We're going to do this in a different place because I feel like it. Okay, so set team color. Here we go. So our event's called set team color. Let's go back to our possessed one. After they're possessed, we'll call set team color. Okay, so let's see what happens when we do this, shall we? Okay, so now we're on the server, and this is kind of what I expected. But our problem here is going to be, let's run this in a editor window. And what do we see on everybody's screens? So this is what I expected to happen. Because we're running this event only on the server, on the possess, only our server has the information. So in theory, we learned the last time we tried to do this about replication, and we were able to properly do this with our onRep notify. That's what we were able to do last time. And our onRep notify, I'm thinking, is going to be our team number. I think that's what we should rep notify. Basically, when your team number changes, we can trigger the color change. So let's see if we can make that work. We're going to do a rep notify of that one. This should be called by the server. We should set our notify right here. And then when we do the notify, we should be able to... Yes, I know you gave me a valid setup for the color change. Yep, I did see that, and I did look through it, and I did help. But I'm trying to remember how to do it without looking at the stuff I did before. I'm trying to see if I can talk my way through this through remembering right now. When we set the team number, then we get an event that's called on the server. And then we want the server... Or do we not need to do this? Can we just multicast this out to everybody because it gets changed on the server? Technically? Yeah, because we want this number to be on everyone's stuff. Yeah. So this should be, actually, I think we can just do a replicated, right? And then call, turn set team color into a multicast event. And then once this number is set, this should be called locally on everyone's machine. Let's see. Where, okay, where is the stupid, I lost my variable. That's funny. Okay, so set team color. Multicast. Only the server can call this. And technically we're on the server when we call possessed, right? I don't know. Let's see what happens. Well, definitely not the result I was looking for. And yes, and yes, Wandered, I definitely know I'm not doing this right. I definitely know I'm not doing this right. It's my brain trying to remember this stuff. I think I need, let's see, a custom event, set, let's see, set to color server. And doesn't this do what we're looking for? Okay, let's see. Oh, that definitely didn't do it. Let's see. Rep notify has to do it since you use the int in the set color. Well, I am replicating this information. Oh, I'm not calling the replication on the server, am I? Hold on. Okay, hold on. Set team number on. I need to set the team number on the server and then replicate it out, don't I? And yes, all this stuff is archived as a playlist. Hold on a second. Set team number, multicast. Do this one. This one needs to take in. Oh, come on, give me my integer. Let's see. New team number. The brain might actually get this. Bear with the brain in mind on this one. Team number. Set. Team number, and this should call the local one, right? I love when everyone looks at me like I'm crazy. I mean, I am crazy, but don't talk about that. Possessed, grab controller. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna do what I want, but why not? Let's see what happens, shall we? Okay, definitely not what I want. Okay, I'll go back to chat. Let's see. Rep notify, pass in your multicast, that should work. Replication takes time, which is why it doesn't work. Again, you're only calling the server. You need one event for the server, and you need a separate event called by the client that calls the first default event. Okay, so Wandered, here's where my question comes in. This is not called, this event right here is only called by the server, correct? Shouldn't this be called on the server? And then I am technically calling this on the server right here. So that's this one. Then I'm setting the number, which is replicated. Shouldn't that number be replicated to everyone, or is it because of the time issue right now? Possessed says technically it occurs on the server. Let's see how many times it's called, shall we? Because technically the player controllers are only on this. Well, let's see what happens. That said 3 of them, so that was really friggin' annoying. Pretty sure there was 4 of them there. Yeah, we got the server called that one 4 times. Multicast run fast. Oh yeah, that's no. Oh, I hate numbers. You're right. So the rep notify is probably where we want to do it then, right? We want to turn our team number into rep notify, and then when the rep notify is done, then do the event. That seems like it would be the right thing, right? If the team number is rep notify, we pass this into here. The server calls the set with notify. We don't have to worry about this one. We just set it with the notify, right? And then when that number is replicated on each machine, we can change the color, right? So we would do let's see, custom event, change color purple. So would it be something like this? I always forget about time. Hey, look at that. I always forget. See, that's my issue. Still trying to get a hold of the multiplier stuff. I'm getting better understanding of the replication and notifications and server calls. It's an issue that I keep forgetting things don't happen instantaneously for like replication and things like that. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Okay, so Wandered and Honeyed, since you definitely seem like you were ahead of me on this one, does this seem like the proper way I did it? Does it seem like the most efficient way of doing it? Basically, when this is get possessed, we grab our team number and then we call on the server for this character what the new team number is. It goes ahead and sets that on the server because the server has to do replication, right? And it calls a set with notify. The set with notify then basically tells all the clients what our replicated team number is, and it calls this event. Well, obviously it'll work, Wandered. We got it working, but I don't know if this is the right way. So if you want to type out the right way, I'd be more than happy to try that as well. But this calls locally a change local color function, which basically does our change local. And this value should be the correct one because we've updated it here, and we don't call this until it's been updated locally. And obviously it's working. And you can actually see that our spawns are working fine. You can see our team 1 on one side and our team 2 on the other. And if we were to change this to, for example, to 6, we should get 3 of each color on each side, like that. So we know our teams are working, and we know our basic assignments are working. We know we have some team numbers being replicated back and forth. So we got that working. Okay, so that's a start. Obviously, it's our player start. I hope it's a start. I will say this much. Despite the fact that it didn't look like I knew what I was doing there, that took a lot shorter of a time than 2 weeks ago when we first tried doing this. Simply trying to get this code set up properly to replicate colors was like an hour and a half 2 weeks ago. So I've definitely... The network stuff is definitely starting to tick a little bit better, which is nice. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone, we're going to work on wrapping this up. We've been streaming for over 2 hours simply because, once again, I said, oh, we're going to wrap it up soon, and then I forgot to actually wrap it up. Try cranking the number of players to 12. Okay. It should... I literally don't know what it's going to do. I guess we're going to find out. Let's see what happens when we do 12. Black. Okay, yeah, because we have them assigned to Team 0, which makes sense. We should have 4 assigned to each team, and then we should have 2 more assigned to Team 0, because we don't have enough spawn points for them. We never assigned them a team number. Because technically, where is our stupid game mode? Wait, I hid my game mode. Where's my game mode? On this one, we were never able to find them a valid one, so they were failing, basically. They would get down to here, and then we would never be able to give them a valid... where would they fail? I think they'd fail... Where would they fail at? I want to say they fail here. They're going to end up failing here. They never end up getting a valid player start. Can't you just set with notify right in the possessed event? You cannot. That is the thing that... well, actually, you know what? I may be wrong. Let me rephrase that. Let's find out. So you're saying basically do this instead. I think this is what you're saying. Instead of calling the server event, we're going to call that. Let's see what happens. Let's just drop ourselves back down to 6 for testing. Oops, 6 for testing purposes. Okay, There we go. It looks like you're right. Okay. Let's see. So, no, it looks like you're correct. This is what I thought. Okay, so, because we are on the server right here. There's only the server ever calls event possessed. So technically the set with notify is called on the server. If we were trying to do this somewhere on the server, then I don't think this code would work. And hello, everybody. So yes, I believe you are correct, Harry. Obviously, you're correct because we just tried it. We tried a set with notify instead of right here. So this right here, we didn't actually need to call because we're calling it on the server. I think me doing this was me going back to the fact that I always had an issue where I'd always forget to call my replications on the server. But the fact this is on the server at least looks like it works. Let's see, set default team to -1 if you want to fix that. I don't think it'll fix it, but let's find out. Let's go back to 12, and let's set our default, default. I don't have a default team number. You got to keep that in mind. I don't have a default team number in here. Harry, yes, I believe you're correct. Let's see. Black guys are only on the server. Yeah, to answer the question in regards to the 12 people here. Yeah, they're only black because why are they only black? Well, I know why they're black because of this right here. They're black because of that. In your player character. Oh, I see what you're saying. Inside my character. Wait, no, I don't have a base. Oh, you're saying default team. To -1. They definitely set them all to black, that's for sure. So why did it set them all to black? Rep notified has to have the variable changed to activate. Oh. Very good point, Honeyed. I totally forgot about that. They even mentioned that in the official videos. If you manage to change a variable multiple times in like the same function, but the end result is still the same, it's never going to fire the rep notify. It won't replicate. No. Honeyed is 100% correct. I completely forgot about that. In order for replication to fire, it has to change. That is correct. And I appreciate you explaining it rather than me sitting there going, why in the hell did -1 work but the rest didn't? No, you are, yep, Honeyed is correct. Because the issue we had, basically, was we had 0 here. And when we called this event right here, the set, we were setting it on the local server. And the notify, the replication part, was never firing off because the variable never changed. I would assume it's a bandwidth optimization. There's no reason for you to call a replication if the variable never changed. So it's to prevent it's kind of like a probably a dummy filter. Like if I was going to do a set with notify every tick and the value never changed, it seems stupid to have the network actually send a nothing, a no change result basically. So by them only replicating changes, it prevents stupid people like me from doing stupid stuff. So that makes complete sense. Well, my biggest see, keep in mind, this right here, this overall problem, is because my code is bad. This is exhibiting an error that my code is bad. We shouldn't ever see black. The only reason we're seeing black is because inside of my game mode, I'm not properly handling too many characters for not enough spawn points. That's the actual issue here. If this was unable to find a proper spawn point, by the way, once I got to complete it, for example, what I'm gonna guess is this node is firing. So let's see if this node fires with 12 people. There we go. This is the node that's firing with 12 people, is what would happen. So first of all, I'm letting too many people into my server. That's my first issue. Second of all, if I was going to allow this many people over my limit for my spawn points, I should, for example, just loop back through or force a spawn and force a default. More than likely, I would make a spectator, for example, and forces people to be a spectator rather than in the game. So that error is simply, first of all, it's a good way to point out the default nature of replication, but it's also just simply I have crappy coding right now. Remember I said these were going to come back and bite me in the butt? They came back and bit me in the butt. So that was all crappy coding is what that was. But I'm going to leave that. I'm actually going to turn that back to 0 because that is a very good way. See, this is good. This is why I like doing stuff like this. This is a good way of showing people in the future problems you're going to run into. You would naturally run into this issue because we naturally ran into it. So yeah, at this point in time, we're probably working on ending this up. Let me see if anyone ever responded to me. No one ever responded to me on if we're going to have no stream tomorrow or not. Let me see if it's in the forums yet. I'm pretty sure there is no official Epic stream tomorrow. That is my personal opinion. Events. Okay. I'm going to... February 23rd. But we have a preview on the 23rd. Huh. Well, crap. I have no idea. Okay, so let me just assume. Let me guess some stuff then. If Epic is not streaming tomorrow, their stream is 11 o'clock. I would normally stream at 10. So come 10 o'clock or so, my normal time, which is 2.5 hours before now. Leave an empty... First of all, okay, so I got to check this out. So they're telling me leave an empty return node like this. That's what they're telling me. Let's see what happens if we do that. Well, we still have them spawning in a horrible, horrible spot, and we're missing 2 people here, technically. Yeah, leaving an empty return node didn't fix anything. We lost 2 people. Yeah. Leaving an empty return node caused a serious issue here. We lost 2 of our players. And, of course, they're still black, only in the server. So that technically didn't resolve any of our issues. Okay, I need to stop getting distracted. You guys are doing a really good job with that. I appreciate everyone for hanging out. The stream's been on for about 2.5 hours. I will stream tomorrow on Tuesday around 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific, which is roughly 2 hours before now, if Epic is not streaming. So if they are not, I will be streaming. If they are streaming, then it will just be a normal video for tomorrow. We will work on answering people's questions. No one had any today, which was quite interesting. It was really weird. We got to actually just work on the stuff. But again, and like a normal stream, if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to ask and participate in chat. We'll help people out as best as possible. Other than that, if not, we're going to... Green. Well, let me finish this up. We're going to go ahead and we're going to work on this. We are working on getting some player spawning working properly. Trying to get them spawning in properly. We kind of have like a little team setup going on here and stuff like that. We're learning how to do the replication properly and setting up different game modes for different game types. So we'll continue on the next day I stream, Tuesday or Wednesday, 10 o'clock Pacific. And I think we'll go ahead and try to finish and fix the rest of our team game mode and player start. We'll add in the other stuff that the people were mentioning, like properly balancing teams, keeping track of our players properly, and things like that. So we no longer have stuff like that. And we'll also figure out how we can kill a player. I need to look into that. How do we prevent, in this case, trying to spawn in 12 players, running into the case of an invalid spawn point, and then basically just dumping someone back into like a lobby type thing. So we'll see if we can work on that. I have not stream. The stream is on Twitch, YouTube, and Beam. I can be reached on Twitter as well. In the YouTube About section is my email address as well as the blueprint list, which is what I use to try to figure out what we're working on. Right now it's multiplayer, but there's other stuff in here, and you can request things on comments. Which is funny because this is what someone posted today. Learning different multiplayer team modes like Capture the Flag and Team Deathmatch. So it kind of all works out really nicely for stuff like that. But other than that, feel free again to contact me like normal. I appreciate everyone hanging out. Other than that, the server is going to go dead for... not the server. The stream will die for about 30 seconds or so before it cuts out. Everyone else have a good rest of their day.